welcome to The Tin Rabbit, a podcast that ventures down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, from the moon landing to the Illuminati. We'll explore the fascinating and often bizarre world of conspiracy beliefs. But this podcast isn't just about debunking or validating these theories. It's about understanding the people who believe in them, and the psychology and sociology that drives us to question the official narrative. In a world where truth is increasingly subjective and social media amplifies our deepest fears and suspicions, conspiracy theories have become a lens through which we view the world. And yet they often leave us with more questions than answers. Join Bad Cookies and Mastermind Hour as they delve into the complex and often contradictory world of conspiracy theories. Let's explore the unknown, the unexplained, and the unconventional. Let's question everything. And maybe, just maybe, we'll find some truth along the way. So come along and let's take a leap down the rabbit hole. The Tin Rabbit awaits.
That worked out a little better. And welcome to the Tin Rabbit. We're here tonight. We're going to be talking about the FDA, the food industry, what they've done to us and what they're doing for us. We'll get both sides on that one. I'm here with Bad Cookies. Say hey.
What's going down, man?
Hey, Bad Cookies, good to see you. And I'm also here with the Better Half Hour.
Hello.
And actually, we're going to start off with a little presentation. We're going to actually get the straight story. And after we hear that, then we're going to dive into where that might actually deviate from
the
reality.
Brainwashed version.
Right.
Because I'm a trained scientist, so it kind of makes sense that
Yes, please.
I would
give us your bona fides.
something for Mastermind and Cookies to feast upon. Pun intended. So you want to start with the FDA video? I just wanted to talk a little bit about what they're promising us. I just wanted to look.
Let's see if we can do this here. There we go. Let's give this a play.
Every day, Americans trust the meals they eat and the medicine they take thanks to the Food and Drug Administration. Since the Pure Food and Drugs Act was passed by the U.S. Congress in 1906, the FDA has been working hard at its goal of promoting and protecting public health. And that means your health. Today, the FDA's umbrella of responsibility has expanded. We now regulate food, drugs, cosmetics, biologics, medical devices, and tobacco products. These laws and regulations are put in place to protect you, the consumer. Researchers at the FDA even advance public health by helping to speed product innovations. 18,000 full-time employees work across all 50 states and internationally, carrying out this mission, promoting and protecting your health.
Bullshit.
Alrighty, so that's your FDA.
So the FDA started like they were saying, it was the Department of Chemistry. And as time moved on in the early 20th century, more and more agencies were developed, like the EPA and USDA and so forth. So I just want to talk about those players a little bit and their roles in our food production and protecting us from harm and
what they were supposed to do,
right.
how it originated,
right, how
where
it
we
originated,
were
the
as opposed to
history
where we are now.
from a mainstream perspective. So what I thought would help with that is talking about the 3 agricultural revolutions. So the first one was like hunter-gatherer, right, and the settlement phase. The second one was when business, not sustenance. So it was big ag, right, in the 1800s and stuff. They just started. Less and less farmers were around, at least in developing nations. And then the third one was the rise, what they call the Green Revolution. And That one is where the rise of like where we shared on a global scale with I call them redeveloping nations instead of developing, but developed, shared their technology, their chemicals, and their bioengineering with the world. And it started at the beginning of the 20th century all the way up to like the 1980s was what was considered the era of the Green Revolution. And they used fertilizers, pesticides, high yield crop varieties, and I already talked about that. So there was a dude, his name was Norman Borlaug, and he was a good old Iowa boy, and he wanted to solve the world's problems. He wanted to feed the world.
Right.
And
all with good intentions.
With good intentions.
That road
so
to
like,
hell paved with something like that.
Our population has doubled since the invention.
Yeah, that was
that he created.
Yeah, that was.
He's attributed with saving millions, if not billions, of starving, not only starvation, but increasing nutrition and improving the quality of life, you know? So, anyway, for doing all this, he was called the father of the Green Revolution. And it came at the precipice after what's called the Blue Revolution, which is like the medical industry, you know, like higher birth rates and less loss. So when he was feeding all these people, he realized they didn't have money to do it, you know. So the VP, there was a vice president, oh, what was his name? I don't remember all the names, but he was a vice president, and he partnered with Rockefeller and Ford, and they worked in Mexico and developed a short strain, a dwarf wheat plant, right? Which is related to, I don't know if you guys have been talking about the chlorquat. That's something that, you know, you want your grains shorter so that they're easier to harvest and you can produce more of them and stuff. So some of the players that were big business that were playing in that was Rockefeller, Ford, all the way up to chlorquat, which is Eli Lilly and DuPont. So those are some of the names that are commonly used, because the idea is that when you create a law or develop a new science is that you need the free market to help you implement it and get it done, you know? So here comes this guy, Mr. Borlaug, and he says, you know, I want to save the world, right? So he gets a Nobel Peace Prize and people are helping him left and right, all these foundations and corporations and stuff. And, you know, he averted hunger for millions, raised incomes, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, reduced land use for agriculture, and contributed to declines in infant mortality. So there's a reason he won that. But one of the things I thought was really interesting was in his Nobel Peace Prize 1970 speech. And I kept wanting to say Oppenheimer. I'm like, did he really mean to create the bomb? And Roman's like, no, actually Nobel created TNT and felt so guilty about it, he had to create the Peace Prize. You know, that was your sarcasm there, but
no, it's completely true.
Yeah, but you know, I saw him saying some things, and I really just wanted to quote him because of the intent behind what he was trying to do. Forgive me for one moment. So let's just put it in perspective, though. The world had grown by 5 billion people, and there was no, so we were at what, 3.5 billion? And environmental scientists are taught that max level 9 billion to sustain population. And there's a saying in human geography, and in which Borlaug uses it too, and it's called the population monster. And you have to keep the population monster under control.
Well,
which is less than. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm not interrupting you on this part. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Keep going.
Okay. I'm almost done.
Yeah,
I'm
I got
wrapping
it.
it up.
It's hard for me not to jump in.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
I know you could.
Go ahead. No,
Okay.
go ahead.
And so, anyway, there was starvation, malnutrition, and you know, we doubled our population, and it was just a great thing. But what he was seeing happening as his policies were, or his inventions were being taken over by other bioengineers and geneticists, and the oil industry started getting involved with the pesticides, and it's a result of like synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, and all the chemical companies were getting excited because that's how the FDA started, was the Department of Chemistry. So we're gonna take all these chemicals that man makes too, and do something good with it instead of something negative. So they were trying to save the world through that. That was the intent. But anyway, I just want to read, let's see.
Well, they were never going to save the world. They were just going to make it possible for more people to live on it.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, I'm just looking for that last one. There it is. So one must ask, is it just to criticize the Green Revolution with its recognized accomplishments for failure to correct all the socioeconomic ills of the world that have accumulated from the days of Adam and Eve up to the present? It would be disastrous, this is a quote from him, for the species to continue to increase our human numbers madly until such innate devices take over. So what does he mean by that, innate devices? He means the bioengineering, the chemicals, all that, and if we don't curb the population monster, and we keep consuming at the rates that developed nations consume, and China did something about that, right? They heard him saying that, and we look at like, communist China, and we're like, wow, they limited how many they could have because they were at a 2% growth rate. And now on a global scale, we're at 0.94%. I know you can say something about that in a second. But we had to control the population monster, right? So there were countries that were taking these GMOs, increasing their populations, and then placing, okay. So then what did they do to his intentions? That's what, when we were talking about Nobel and TNT and stuff like that. But nevertheless, vast sums are now being spent in all countries, developed and developing, on armaments and new nuclear and other lethal weapons, while pitifully small sums are being spent on agricultural research and education designed to sustain and humanize life rather than to degrade and destroy it. So my point is, his intention was good, and
that's what the road to hell is paved.
Why would they want to poison us?
Well, they didn't.
If they grew us. And
no,
thank you for letting me share.
His point is, your point is, he's not saving the world, though. He's just making it possible for more people to live on it. And if they've got enough food to keep reproducing, that's what they're going to do. And so instead of making the problem oh no, the world has 5 billion people on it, now the problem is, oh no, the world has 9 billion people on it. It's the same problem. You just kick the can down the road. What do you think?
I'll blame the Democrats. Oh, it was the damn Democrats.
Why is that, Cookie? What did they do?
No, what don't they
do? I blame the Republicans, so I guess we got it covered.
Both sides
covered. I blame greed. It's more of a spiritual thing for me.
Now we're talking. Now that's some serious shit right there. It is because of the greed, because how else will you maximize profits? Actually, should we start on our section here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, well.
You can totally, I'm done with.
Let's do it.
My little.
Going into what you established already, it was introduced in 1901 by the Dow Company and Monsanto. They go that far back that they were the first ones to introduce the preservatives, man. What had happened was that the food manufacturers had to go to the chem companies to increase the need for preservation because canning and all kinds of other preservation tactics weren't really working. So they needed to go to the companies that did chemicals to see if they can figure out a solution to get them to make food last a little longer.
Throw some heavy metal on it.
Yes, sir. The first introduction of the food preservatives was actually formaldehyde and copper sulfate.
Jeez.
And those were introduced by who else? Monsanto, man.
Right. Yeah, they've been, and I think is Monsanto Bayer now, or is Bayer Monsanto?
I think
Bear took
Bear. Either way, that's yeah, right. With Bear, after what Monsanto done, and they have all the Roundup lawsuits that are still coming. Bear's like,
Yep.
you know what? That sounds like a pretty good fucking investment to me. Let's buy Monsanto. So you know that they've got so many irons in the fire that we don't even know about. That Bear, there's an actual corporation that would look at Monsanto and not see a downside there.
I think of something that you've mentioned to me before, because Bayer is a pharmaceutical company, and I keep wanting to question you and Cookie, like, why would they want to poison us? Why would they invest in us populating and then poison us? Well, why? Because
Because
Bear wants to.
if you're healthy
mean-
and strong, you can march longer. If you're overweight and you can barely move, and you're actually obesity is making you slows down cognitive abilities. It lessens your cognitive abilities.
Yes, and cause
Then you're
cancer.
just
and, yeah.
almost smart enough to push the buttons on the machine, but you're not smart enough to march on Washington D.C. or your state capital.
Well, let me flip that question around on you real quick and see if we can go down the rabbit hole on this one. Why would a pharmaceutical company want to poison and make people sick on purpose?
More money.
Hey, thank you. That's exactly it. It's capitalism. It's their way of, all right, if I can get you sick with all the food that we force you to eat, because it's all these preservatives and all of this crap, all these GMOs are in literally everything we eat. If people just look at the labels of everything that you eat, everything has GMOs and preservatives, even some of the things that are grown organically. So once you get those diseases, like for example, according to GERDhelp.com, they're a company that focuses on getting people help for their gastrointestinal reflux disease. They have already established that intaking too many artificial preservatives can lead to various health complications, such as gastroesophageal reflux disease. The largest contributor to that is actually fast food. And nowadays, the age bracket between 20 to 39 are the largest consumers of these preservatives, making up 45% of the market consumption. So once you get this into your system and you grow older and this shit finally takes hold and gives you things like GERD or diabetes or any of these things, guess what? Now they have you hooked on pills for the rest of your damn life.
Well,
Or you die.
Yeah, we were just talking about Eli Lilly. I don't think it's a coincidence that they're also the number one producers of insulin. You can see where they
Corn
start.
syrup and
Yeah.
yeah.
So and if I don't think it's a huge leap to be able to easily point to the fact that there are exact products that are sold in the United States and in Europe. And if you look on the back, the ingredients list is completely different. And that directly addresses who's paying for the health care of the person eating it. If you have to pay for your own health care, then they're going to put in the poison. If the government has to pay for your health care, well, they're going to put in stuff that's going to make you healthy.
I saw Jacqueline's. I'm sorry. Let me clarify this real quick. So I saw Jacqueline's question right here. I'll bring it back up.
Oh, I did. We're both double clicking.
I'm starring stuff too, so you guys know for the end if you want to.
Excellent. So what GERD is cap. Well, they can all be caps, but it's GERD. It stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Actually, may I share, like, even in our own family, allergies to preservatives, and it depends on if things are what's called a bioaccumulative, where, like with the heavy metals, Cookie, like any of those copper sulfates and any sort of metals are going to stay in your body longer, versus something like chlormequat, which it doesn't accumulate in your body. You pee it out really quick, but you're eating it every day because it was in 92% of our cereals.
Yep.
Starting in 2022. And you had also mentioned, according to labels, we're eating a lot of GMO food and stuff like that. And so I think that's one place where the government has tried to argue for the mainstream perspective is labeling our foods. Sorta. You know, if you buy conventional, you're going to get a lot more crap in your food than if you buy organic. Now, is that guaranteed? No, because you got to look at those certification bodies and trust them. And if you're a doctor of professional hate, forget that. Sorry.
It's what I do. I got a degree.
But
Well, that's good, Nick, doesn't he?
what's that? Oh, I don't
doesn't
need.
eat
Yeah, you just
cereal
click.
or
If you
milk.
just click on it right
Okay,
there.
I'm going to let you guys talk,
Okay.
and I'm going to do
All right.
Okay.
yeah.
Don't eat cereals or milk. Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. I miss milk and ice cream, and I cheat every once in a while because my grandfather was a milkman, so I grew up having half and half on my cereal.
I question that because Nick says he doesn't eat cereals or milk, but then he says he trusts the FDA.
Really, if you trust the FDA, then you'd know that you're supposed to have 11 servings of grains and bread every morning or every day on your food pyramid.
Wait,
So
Nick is confusing me because what?
he uses red dye. It's called trolling.
Oh, okay, I'm going to stop
They're
posting
being
his comments
sarcastic.
then.
She's new to this.
Ooh, Colorado's People's News.
Well, this is slightly off topic, but they even changed the food pyramid, man. It's no longer a food pyramid. I think it's like a food tetrahedron or some shit.
It's a circle. When we teach nutrition in school, it's got the little pie, you know, and how many servings
It's
of
a
each.
food swirl.
It's a food circle. It's a pie.
No, they've been lying to us ever since there's been, and see that, that's going back into who's paying for it. It all goes back to the money.
It does go
Yeah.
all back to the money. For over 100 years now, we've been having to deal with these things, and it's just barely taking effect. It's not even just barely taking effect. It's been taking effect since the mid to late 60s. But the thing is, we're now barely able to contribute the diseases and the side effects of those things
Right.
to
There's no
the
way.
preservatives.
No, it's the whole premise to the Batman when the Joker was putting a little bit of the chemical in the hairspray, a little bit of chemical in the creamer or the face creams, and when you
Lily
combine
Tomlin's
them,
movie.
huh?
Lily Tomlin's movie when she shrunk, Incredible Shrinking.
Yeah,
Mixing all the chemicals on her body.
they've been telling us their game plan from the very beginning. It's
Yep.
always been out there. They have to confess it somehow. That way they're. Well, no, that's a whole nother conspiracy. We'll get into Saturn and that stuff
That's-
later.
Well,
That's
I
on a
want to
later
ask
episode.
Cookie, do you
Yeah.
trust the labeling laws? Because you brought that up as an example to say that, a lot of our food is poisoned.
Absolutely
Um,
not. Absolutely not. And I will give you a perfect example of why I do not trust our labeling laws. There is I wish I could bring a picture up of this, but
I'm gonna.
there was a ramen noodle that I used to enjoy. I loved it. It was delicious. And then I started reading what was on the packages. It wasn't so much the ingredients that alarmed me, but it was a little tiny disclaimer on the flip lip of the sealant that said, "This is only for California residents. This product has traces and can introduce lead into your system."
Right.
Why the fuck is that why is that only on for Californians? Why isn't that something that's alerted to everyone else?
That's why
Because
their
California is
taxes
the
are
only
so
place where
high.
they have to tell it.
Yeah,
Every other place, a little bit of lead,
If I
a little
may.
bit of rat crap.
and also federal law.
Yeah.
Federal
Yeah,
law
federal
is
law.
less stringent than state law. State law, and California is known for creating extraneous, bureaucratic, regulatory burdens that everybody hates. But it can also inform us. Someone has to test all those noodles to know lead's in it, like with the chlorquat
Well.
and the environmental working group.
And
I'm
geez,
sorry,
don't
Roman.
watch any YouTube
I'll be
videos where
quiet.
they take the ramen and they put it under the microscope and you can see all the living bugs that are walking around in it.
Oh, dude, you're making me hungry. Stop.
Yeah, right. Well, it's extra protein, so that's what counts.
Right? We'll be
But-
eating bars of it real soon, right?
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's how it starts. But yeah, my my father used to work in a cereal factory, and he used to hate that I would remind him of the fact that the federal government allows 1 pound of rat feces for every 100 pounds of oatmeal that goes out the
10%.
door.
Yeah.
A whole pound of rat crap for every 100 pounds.
And why is that acceptable? Why would something like that be acceptable? Why? Because it would cost too much. It's not cost efficient to make sure that your food doesn't have fucking rat feces in it or any kind of bugs in it. It's
Could
all
it
about
also
capitalism.
Could it also be that we're overpopulated and we have to rush making enough grains for everybody? And there's no way to control from, like, if I was GE making the cereal and I was buying silos.
The only reason they would
I
make
can't control the crap in the silos from a farm.
the only reason they would say you can only have 1 pound of rat crap in 100 pounds of oatmeal is because somebody was trying to sell 2 pounds of crap in 100 pounds of oatmeal, and they had to pull it back.
They had to make a law.
Yeah, no, well, let's not get crazy here. It's starting to affect the
Roman.
flavor. That's not raisins and oatmeal and
We're not at
raisins
that
and
part.
cinnamon.
That's your fourth revolution.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead.
You're jumping ahead of the schedule,
I
man.
know. I'll
ahead.
stop.
Jumping ahead.
I do. Can we redirect the conversation kind of to
Sure.
how the intention behind his was well? And I mean, I know we're poisoning ourselves, but how do we solve this problem without being cruel? If we all of a sudden get rid of bioengineering and pesticides and herbicides and ways to do things on mass scales, a lot of people are going to die from not only starvation but malnutrition.
Well,
How
I
do we
would-
solve that.
Well,
I would
Klaus call
disagree
them
with-
go
Go
ahead,
ahead, man.
Yankees.
No, go
I
ahead.
was just
go
going to say Klaus would call them the useless eaters anyway. After you.
Indeed, man. No, that's very
Wow.
factual. But what I would say to that is the solution to that would actually be local farms, local community farming, and locally produced food. And not so much, well, the government doesn't want that because corporations don't want that. Corporations have a lockdown on all of the food we eat. There is a video out there, you guys can look it up yourselves, where someone is actually going down the aisles and is showing every single product in that aisle and who owns that aisle. And you would be surprised that it all leads back to the same corporation. Usually it's something like BlackRock. Everything leads back to that. So even if you have like General Mills or Post, since we're talking about cereals here, you can have all of these different brands. All of them all go back to the same owner. So since they have that lockdown of our food source, they don't want us growing our own food. They don't want us locally sourcing our own food because then they won't be able to poison us. They won't be able to control their monetary income because under capitalism, you have to have continuous growth. You have to.
Yeah,
and they
that's-
literally found fucking loopholes to the monopolies.
Yeah, everything in this universe ebbs and flows, except for capitalism. You can't continuously, well, and of course, human population, that doesn't seem to be ebbing. It seems to be doing a lot of flowing. But if we keep feeding people, they're going to keep reproducing, and that's why Elon wants to start bases on Mars, not because Earth is going to be, unlivable. It's just going to be too crowded. We're going to need to.
Right. Well, are we?
And if you can be the guy on Mars that's setting up the apartment complexes, then you're the landlord of Mars. Yeah, he's thinking long term.
It would be like
And
that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say with, it's not only the population monster, it's consumption rates. And that's really, do we have to eat meat 3 times a day, every day? I mean, I'm not saying be a vegetarian, but speaking to Cookie's point of locally sourced food and food security, and, we're kind of ebbing into the solution phase of this, is that I live in a high desert. I can't grow basil or tomatoes that great, or whatever, like looking at the regions that we've been able to expand on because of bioengineering.
We could
and
do that when
pesticides.
we were Gregorian.
Agrarian.
Thank you. But now everybody lives in the city. You can't have a garden to feed yourself in your apartment. I mean, it would take acres to feed a family. Acres to feed a family. If you're talking about being self-sufficient. And that's
and
not
if
including the grazing land for your
So
meat.
you're saying Cookie's saying make it local, like
Yeah.
rely
Oh,
on more local resources, which
absolutely.
is why California has laws, because it's more of a contained, you know, it's Prop 78, I
I
think,
don't
right?
know.
Yeah,
I've never been to
the
California.
informed purchasing, informed
Oh,
capitalism.
that's why
Like you can
all my pillows say
they
California says this pillow is going to give you cancer.
right. They're the third, they were whatever, I don't know the
Mm.
stats on it now, but the third largest economy. They can make the rules.
Right.
And when they bring,
Right.
actually in the e-waste industry or the electronics manufacturing, they had their own computers made. They had Union computers coming in because it had 27 less chemicals.
Right.
You know, so
Without the fire
just-
retardants. Those are the bad ones.
yeah.
But that's not
I
food.
mean, we could
That's
start.
not food.
No, I know, I'm being quiet.
See, Dr. Nick here
Trying to
touches
redirect
on this
us.
that it's something that I always say. The capitalist system is a inherently predatory system that's built on infinite growth with finite resources. It's an unsustainable method of economy, but it's the only economy we're going to get until literally the US collapses, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to give up their power.
Power will never give itself. They'll never give up power. It's never happened. It's
Okay.
never happened in the history
So-
of mankind.
And Cookie, it's a little, you talked about cities being a solution.
No,
Not
that's the
being a
problem.
problem,
Right.
but also think of places like Africa didn't really fit into bioengineering because of their water issues till the early 2020s.
But they-
They're not even starting to touch bioengineering in Africa. I mean, they get rice in the Philippines
Well,
and Asia and all
They
that.
were in Libya
So
until
we're
we
just gonna
killed them.
say, go ahead, you guys use. I don't need to because I have a farmers co-op. I mean, that's you know.
To be
how
fair,
can we? Yeah.
to be perfectly fair, the reason Africa is now just barely getting those things is because they have never actually been fully colonized. They have been oppressed and they have been abused to take their resources and their human power. So they never had a reason to start planning on that place being colonized by large quantities of people and a large population. So while they were sitting there abusing Africa, they didn't think about that. But now that Africa is actually developing their own sustainable world and economy,
Redeveloping.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's okay. Capitalism can come in here and start fucking these people over.
Yeah, that's what they do best.
And the environment, like
Yep.
now every farmer, like India, is happening like it did in America. We were over half farmers. Now we're less than 1%. It's all big ag. Now in India, it was 80% farmers. Was like farmers, like like individual farmers, versus now big ag is starting to take over, and that's why all the protesting and all that. But
Well,
Here's one little tidbit, and this is purely satire on my end, but why is
shit,
it that
I forgot to do the disclaimer for the show.
oh,
Damn it.
do it at the
Damn.
end, man? We need the disclaimer.
Okay.
for what?
Just for what we're watching is a fictional portrayal of what 2 or 3 conspiracy theorists might do if they had a podcast. But this is our play of what that would look like.
Wait,
And action.
I don't see that in the solution page.
Action.
What? No, just
So
so how? Oh, if we can, I mean, we're at a point where maybe. Oh, Cookie, you were going to say something.
yeah, real quick, I'll drop this
Yeah.
bullshit on people. So, like, how is it that you can fucking build grasslands in the middle of Saudi Arabia, which is also a desert, yet you can't get grasslands built in Nevada, Colorado, our own states? Easy, because they're literally selling your water, Coloradans' water, to Saudi Arabia so they can sit there and water their lawns and have it be nice and lush green so that the millionaires and billionaires out there, I sound like Bernie Sanders there, fuck. The people out there can afford it.
Cookie, it went mainly.
You're halfway
Yeah,
there.
you're halfway there. It was in the form of soybeans and alfalfa.
In
Because
Arizona.
the beef industry, dude. They're
Yeah.
feeding it for their cattle, and so
They're shipping all this alfalfa over to
Right.
they
It's
weren't
not
shaking
like-
the water because
yeah.
water's heavy. they'll grow the alfalfa here in Arizona because Arizona doesn't have a limit to the number of wells that you can put on your land. So they can nobody believes me, but I think the reason that Lake Powell was dry a couple years ago is because Saudi Arabia was sucking all the water out of it via the underground
That
water
was
table.
you and I argued about that for hours.
Whatever, that water went
Because
somewhere.
I grew up right next to Lake Mead.
That
and
water went
Hoover
somewhere,
Dam,
and all that water that they were using to water the alfalfa in Arizona, cut
Right.
the alfalfa,
Yeah.
then ship it overseas.
That's right.
That alfalfa is a lot lighter than water. Plus, they get to crap all the soil over in Arizona too. So it was a win-win for them.
Right on.
But
So,
I
I do
think
wanna-
they put a cap on that.
I want to get to the point where we start talking about how we empower ourselves, because Cookie was touching on that a little bit, and we're kind of I want to look at some comments and ask questions from the commenters and see what they think.
From the chat?
Yeah. But I just want to ask you guys first.
Wait,
how
those
do
are
we-
real people? I
Those are
swear
real
to
people.
God,
They
I
could
thought
be
those were all in my
bots.
heads, man.
They're bots from Russia.
No, those are all the
China.
feds that follow me from podcast to podcast.
It's the nanotechnology in my underwear. How do we empower ourselves to stop letting them poison us? And that addressed without seeming flippant towards starving half the world. But
Well,
Roman had a couple solutions, and
Well, lay them on me, man. What do you got?
how to stop them?
yeah, well, we were talking
Citizens
about
United. I don't know. Oh, there it is, right there. Get rid of Citizens United. I happen to be the number one on there. Yeah, until it's the pharmaceutical companies or Monsanto or whoever that's actually pulling the strings and getting the votes. You can yell at them all you want. And when people say, you know what, we need a general strike, that drives me absolutely insane, because what you're saying is, I'm going to go, it's like siege warfare, only you're going to put yourself in the castle and then starve yourself. And all you have to do is wait for you to die. And then they're going to come in and take your castle.
Now, real
Also
quick,
mentioned
while you
China.
touched on that, I want to talk about that for 1 second, because someone had given me an idea before, and I thought it wasn't too bad of an idea, but I still don't see how it could work. The one thing that the person told me is that you can do a cyclical strike. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it's
Mhm.
you literally have everyone take a day off, 1 day out of the week,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that alone will start crippling their red line so
Ooh.
much that
Yeah.
they'll start noticing it. So
Right.
if you sit
'Cause
there,
then they can't fire everybody. But you would
Exactly,
have to
man.
have solidarity.
exactly,
You
yeah.
know you're going to
You
have
can't
fucking.
even get people to
the
vote
scabs.
independent.
I know.
mean, oh wait,
Oh,
I'm
man.
supposed to be the optimistic
But
one.
but wait, but if people get
Or
pissed
vote
off
in
enough,
general.
I mean, all this Middle East shit's starting to bring shit to a head. So
You had mentioned special interest laws. Get rid of special interest laws.
special interest. Well,
Yeah, I don't
that's
know
what
why you said
Citizens
that.
United is.
Oh.
That's where special interest groups can come in and buy a senator, because corporations are people, so they have all this unlimited PAC money, and if you're getting $100 million, if you're getting $1 million from this special interest group, and everybody else says, this is bad, but this guy over here in your ear is saying, well, it's not that bad.
Well,
You're just gonna,
how do you get stuff done in the world and help solve world starvation without some money?
Real
You
quick,
gotta go kiss ass to the moneymakers.
I will touch on that real quick.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
not our fucking problem.
well, right? World police, fuck yeah,
Globalization, you mean?
right?
Yes, feeding the entire world is not our problem. I understand that
Fair enough. Yeah.
we're
no,
quote unquote the richest country in the fucking world, right? We are supposed to be the policing of the world, but we only use our power for what? For war and destruction and manipulation and extortion.
food is a weapon. That was another.
Yeah.
Get rid of food as a weapon.
Yeah.
Food not bombs. Food not lawns.
So here's my
No.
stance on the situation is like we can go to places like Argentina, we can go to places like Africa, we can go to places like the Middle East, take their resources, abuse their people, and leave them high and dry, but we can't bring them food, right?
Well, or look at our own country. Consumers, do you think they're going to want to be without their bananas?
Absolutely
Do
not.
you think they're going to want to, like one of the things for me is we're too busy counting calories and being fit. And yeah, I mean, I get the obesity problem or whatever, but instead of counting chemicals and looking at how we're hurting ourselves and focusing on food security with like what Cookie was talking about with local gardens, and they do have city like taking broken down buildings. There's so many community garden projects going on right now. And
But I
but it's
honestly don't
usually
think it's
polluted
enough, though.
land.
Well,
There's a lot of heavy metal in those city land gardens.
yeah,
Mhm.
what
I don't want to
happened
talk about
is
that
all
one.
these boomers, all these hippies turned into these aging boomers, and now the shining
Talking about
knight
your
should
mother.
be, huh?
You're talking about your mother.
Well, sorry, mom,
Yeah.
but no, she's not one of the oligarchs. I'm
No.
talking about. I'm talking. I wish she was, but
Jelly much?
right,
Right. Yeah.
right. Uh, what was I saying?
I'm sorry.
Nope, it's gone.
Oligarchy and
It's gone.
boomers turned into.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they're supposed to be our knights in shining armor and coming in with all this organic food that actually feeds us. But what do? They charge twice as fucking much for it. So
Yeah.
the only people that can afford it are the ones that are making six figures.
Yep. And
Or
even
we just don't buy drapes and we buy
So
organic.
that free love turned into expensive food in a heartbeat.
I don't need a brand new car, but I'd rather pay for food, for the value of food. And it comes down to labor. When you go buy strawberries from Mexico that has been transported, you look at
Yep.
the pollution for transporting it, the chemicals they sprayed on it, versus me going down to my farmer's market and buying an organic strawberry that isn't certified, it's still more expensive because it comes down to the labor of things.
Yep.
And that's why we're in the position we are with diluting the
And
value of dollar.
well, let me be the conspiratorial one here and ask you the question. Why would that be?
Well, no. What you want to ask her is like that video that we've been seeing. Why is it 2 years ago that kid went on his Walmart app and saw, oh, order again from 2022.
Oh, I do the grocery shopping. I get the cost. Yeah,
And,
it's three
and
times the amount right now.
that has nothing to do with the cost of labor between then and now. That's
Yep.
pure profit. That's pure
Right.
Well, that actually leads to my
greed.
question.
Greed.
Oh no, it's because they raised our minimum wage.
Yeah, right. That must have
I
been
could
it.
be the corporate conspiracy.
There you go.
Like
There you go.
there
My
was-
whole
Oh yeah, please.
Oh, thank you. My whole thing there was that the reason they do that, why it's so much cheaper to bring strawberries from Mexico, is pure capitalism. It's we need to maximize our profits. How can we maximize our profits? We can go and pay Americans a living wage and get them to do the farming jobs that we have here, or
Or
we can send it down south and pay them pennies on the dollar and have them grow the shit. We can avoid pesticide laws and all kinds of
Right.
regulations when
Yeah,
they do it.
you miss the middle step where you get the immigrants to pick the strawberries in America,
Yes.
and then
Oh,
when
right.
that
I was
became
going
too
to talk about
expensive,
Dole bananas in
then you
Florida
can go
and
down there and use
sugarcane.
use
Oh, yeah.
DDT on all your strawberries.
Yes, sir.
Man. So we talked about knowing where your food comes from and informing ourselves. I tend to trust labeling the way that I was taught through, I used to lobby with the Organic Consumers Association. And it's like, you got to trust who's certifying. You can't just like, oh, look, it's certified, and there's no such thing as EPA certification or things like that. Greenwashing, where they're claiming, they're a certain way. And, it just, I mean, you got to buy food. So what we're stuck in right now, what are you looking at?
So keep going.
Oh, I'm
Pretend
sorry.
like I'm not doing
You got to buy
anything.
food. So I'm going to be more of an informed consumer. I'm going to try. I'm going to pay attention to those labels, what the label laws are. You know, subscribe to a magazine that helps educate me about that. Things like that, just to help inform myself. But I also wanted to ask another question because are we stopping in an hour?
That is up to
Well, I
bad
want to
cookies if
involve
you-
the
yeah.
audience and
We're-
get into that.
yeah.
But
If you
Okay,
guys want to keep
Cookie.
going, I don't care, man.
We're only 45 minutes in.
all right.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
While you were
Capitalism.
talking, while you were talking about how they only allow like the plot of lands that are toxified and damaged in order to grow the community farms and such.
Oh, not only, but they're, they're like
It's
the
mostly those.
reclaimed Superfund sites,
Yep.
abandoned buildings with asbestos, leaded paint, soil, and you got to get informed, make sure. And that's what's horrible. That's why sometimes we need informed databases on
Right.
on a nationwide level to be able to know where these are.
Well, let me
So
give you a story of what happened to me.
Oh, no.
I once when I was living in Chicago, there was a plot of land right down the block that was empty for ages, forever and ever. That plot of land used to be a few homes that people got evicted out of. They tore the homes down, and this plot of land was just sitting there. So my whole thing was like, oh, I'm gonna go be an activist. I'm gonna go and see if I can get this plot of land to for the city to authorize me to make that a community garden, so that the community come in and can build their farms and they can get their own vegetables and such. And what the hell happened? The government, the Chicago city ordinance said, no, that isn't authorized because it's too close to the city. This is before they passed that farming law. We're not allowed to do that within the city limits. And guess what they did instead? They built a fucking Starbucks in that plot.
Put up a parking lot.
It's the Chicago way.
Yeah.
That's, they don't want to empower us with us being able to know how to grow food or store food or, but do people want to go backwards? It takes so much work, Cookie, so much work to eat healthy and be healthy. And in American society, we're so rushed. They've got us so busy working and staying busy that we've compartmentalized everything. We go to the gym. People paying to go to the gym. What? Like, why don't you just go walk outside, garden for a little bit,
Right? Or
get your exercise,
get a job where you have to work. Yeah.
Or I don't know. It's all ass backwards.
I was a TV cameraman for all three major networks, and this was back before the digital cameras where they still had the cassette. So those were those cameras that were yay big. And they weighed 40 pounds, and I was carrying those
You
up.
were skiing backwards.
Oh yeah, skiing backwards a couple times. But yeah, thanks. But yeah, carrying 50 plus, all the other gear, carrying 50, 60 pounds with you all day. I never had to go to a gym, and I was in the best shape of my life. Since I've been sitting at home, that's kind of gone by the wayside.
That's like white collar privilege, is what I mean, basically.
Well,
yeah,
People with standing desks walking.
dude, that's
Sorry,
another
go ahead,
topic
Cookie.
for another show. Not to mention,
I'll write it down.
not to mention the fats that we consume now. Because back in the early days, we used to consume mostly animal fats, and then it came to the oil revolution.
Trans,
Yeah,
all
all of that
folic
shit came out.
acids,
Petro oils.
partially hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
Well,
that's another show for another time, man.
Well, that's talking about.
Well, we're
consuming
actually no. This is
calories,
food
not
because
chemicals.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
it's
how
ingesting items.
they wanted us to eat carbohydrates because they thought that was better than fat.
How come there's more liquor stores and convenience stores in some communities, especially Black communities, than there is like health food or hospitals or
It's food deserts because they can't grow their own shit, so they have to go down to the bodega and get a bag of chips. It's designed that way.
Yeah, look at shout out to Shonda from the Trailer Park Pundit.
Oh yeah.
She lives in a food desert where she has to drive miles or get rides out to miles and miles because they don't build those things around here. Why? Because they want to keep that area poor.
liquor stores and churches.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'll go back.
Dollar Generals and shit like that. Literally, she says that she has to go to the Dollar General to get most of her
Right, to get-
groceries.
It's intentional. It's completely intentional. So if they are getting you to eat carbohydrates and the fats you need for your brain, you need all that stuff. And when you are just eating carbohydrates, then that is what?
No, I'm.
That's the
yeah.
that's the fast, easy way to
Get energy. Energy.
yes. But then that's what goes through your liver, and what your liver can't process it makes fat on the liver itself, and that's fatty liver disease.
Yep.
And that causes diabetes and
High blood pressure.
Yeah, and cognitive loss.
Yep.
Can start dementia from fatty liver. So
Biden.
yeah, right. It's all. It's
You don't got a cough, baby.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh.
if they, from the minute they put that food pyramid trying to get you to eat 12, or was it 11, 12, something like, basically way too much bread, just way too much
Well, the
bread.
grains and cereals is how we sustain ourselves, and that's why they started in the bioengineering, making sure that we had rice that had certain nutrients in it. That's really what helped China sustain themselves and their population and stopped like malnutrition there.
I wouldn't
was
use China
putting
as an
more
example. They do a lot of shady
nutrients.
shit where they put plastic in their fucking rice and shit. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, or
Oh,
yeah, where
no.
they'll shake it, or what was it? Blueberries, and then there were like a couple blueberry-sized pieces of plastic.
Yep. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Well, I'm really sorry about that.
No.
No, this is a conversation.
Yeah, gives me a second to think of what we're going to talk about. I had a question though that I don't feel like we answered it.
Sure.
And so I'm going to just start
Hit
turning
it.
towards, I know. What do we think? And I really want the commenters maybe and I'll start pulling those comments up and you guys can read off those. But what do we think the fourth revolution will be? And I want to hear your guys's.
I'll go
Well,
last.
or do you want me
I'll
to
go
give my
last.
frou-frou one first?
I'll go last.
My little optimistic one.
Go
I'm
for
sure somebody will get mine.
It's so I found a quote, and one of the what was her name? She was like sustainable farming and green capitalism. I'm like, she didn't say green capitalism, but
to the start.
it was like regenerative farming. No, it wasn't grape time. I'll find her. Oh, Sula Moon. You were talking about things. You kind of have my same ilk of language with that, but the quote was, "Productivity in perpetuity without associated ecological harm." So the fourth revolution is going to be us to stop being brainwashed into thinking like, Nick, when you say it's not our fucking problem, not Nick, Cookies.
That's
when
me.
When you say it's not our problem to feed the world and that we need to focus locally, it's like it isn't a bad thing to not want to help people who are starving, and that we're creating ecosystems that aren't hurting our soil and ourselves. And it's true to me, green capitalism and ethical, where I don't have to support someone else. That's my dream. That's where I wanted to go. So my little conspiracy theory is that we'll care, and
That's going to be that's the fourth revolution.
farming and feeding ourselves with the ecology in mind.
So, but
That's it.
so you're saying that we're going to start farming without using fertilizers and pesticides? Is that, and we're going to make more food with
Or we
less-
come up with bioengineering and stuff that doesn't hurt us or the environment.
What you need to do is you need to figure out
Green
that
chemistry through Dow
that-
Chemicals.
terra prima, that stuff in South America. What's that? Terra prima, is that right?
No,
The
the
dirt-
soil.
yeah, the soil that
Mhm,
never
from
that-
South America.
Yeah.
Terra Prime or
Yeah.
Terra.
They were growing shit like that in South America, and the soil is still there, and it's still good, and it regenerates itself. And this was, this was back before
Wait.
we even, this. What do we got?
Well, no, I'm just
Oh.
coming up with the solutions, and people are already sounding like you. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I just got excited. So,
Oh yeah, my fourth kid's in the house.
Jill, stop.
Yo, let me interrupt you because I
Yeah.
want to go before you.
Go,
Mastermind.
do it.
Real quick shout out to Kit. See you in the chat there. Good to see you, Kit. What I believe the fourth revolution will actually be, believe it or not, is gonna be old school hard work farming, because it'll actually happen after World War III, after the nukes drop, and after a lot of the population is gone.
Right, if the soil isn't all irradiated.
Exactly. And
Wow,
even
you
if it is
went
radiated,
really
you're growing
far
on
the
it.
rabbit hole.
Well, that's what I do.
Wow, that was awesome.
Uh,
Sorry.
yeah, mine was just gonna be the Snowpiercer, eating the bugs, drinking the everybody getting used to drinking the maggot milk, and
Maggot milk.
Yeah.
it's a story.
I mean, I
They're
read
grinding it.
Soylent Green
Yeah,
at some point in my
Yeah.
teens, and
yeah,
Snowpiercer was an excellent movie.
yeah. We're gonna be
Recommended
eating
that
those
to
cricket
you.
protein bars,
Yum yum.
so I'm not super excited about
Yummy.
that. But I guess it's well, and that's the thing too, is once we get all the snow caps to melt, and that's going to flood all the cities on the coast, so then everybody's have to move inland anyway. I think that's probably going to be when they start doing the farming for real, because you're not going to be having the high-rise apartments that are on the coast that are housing everybody. I forget what the percentage is, but I think 80 to 90% of the population lives within 100 miles of the coast. Is that right? 75,
Near a
80?
water source, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not the ocean per se. And I mean, at the worst, like if all the ice caps melted at once, like all the CO2 was released and it melted, it would only go up to like
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty's nose, which
100.
when I was actually looking at those maps with you, it's not even going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got New
No.
York City and
Yeah. Yay.
LA.
Yeah, don't
a
threaten
lot
me
of
with a good time.
California.
Oh, we'll cover that when it comes time to
Oh.
do environmental controls and the
yeah.
myth of what is that called? Environmental change?
Yeah.
Climate change.
The global warming and carp.
Yeah.
Or being able to have, the ego that we can actually change the course of the way things are going.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
yeah,
Gates. Ooh,
I'm
someone's
voting.
talking about Gates here. That's a good conspiracy theory. Ooh, Sula Moon.
Gates is
thank
working
you.
on maggot milk. It's rolling
Oh.
out in Africa. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
and the
Right.
Impossible Burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why is he buying the farmland and doing maggot milk?
Well, because the rich people have to eat.
Ooh, that I can answer you, and it has to deal with capitalism. So
Why don't we just call the show Capitalism?
no, it's me. I'm full disclosure to the audience and anybody else passing by that's watching this. I am a hardcore anarchist, and I do not believe in this system at all. So, with that said, the reason Bill Gates sits there and buys up all this farmland is for two reasons. One, he controls our food source and can poison us at will. There's a big conspiracy theory behind that he is trying to poison us and get rid of a lot of the population. And second, subsidies for farmlands that aren't grown on. There are millions and millions upon millions of dollars issued out to farmers who, quote unquote, cannot grow on their fields due to difficulties or climate change or whatever.
They're pick acres. They don't even care if they're good or bad. The farmers are paid not to farm on them so they can keep the grain elevators from overflowing.
Exactly.
And that's what the farmers will do, is they'll take their shittiest acres and say, "Oh, I'm going to let that one." It was supposed to be so you could let a field sit for a season instead of always just rotating between beans and corn and beans and corn and beans and corn, because that's the soybeans suck all the crap out of the ground.
Yeah, they're the
and then people
plants,
eat.
pigeons.
Yeah, yummy soybean.
Earth cleaners.
So yeah, it sucks all the crap out of the ground for the corn,
That you need to buy organic.
but you still have to let the ground sit.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
proper.
don't
Can I
do
ask
that, and
a
that's why all the
question?
topsoil
To
leaves.
Cookie again, I just have a question.
Go.
Go for it.
How is Bill Gates wanting to reduce the population any different than us wanting to not help feed the world?
I'm sorry, you broke up there a bit. Can you repeat that question?
How is Bill Gates wanting to reduce the population any different than America withdrawing from helping to feed the world?
That's easy because Bill Gates, the theory behind that is Bill Gates wants to lessen the population globally. Like he wants to bring us down to a more the reason they want to do that is because with a smaller population, they have better control over that population. They can police that population better. They can control their education, their food sources, everything about the population. They can control better when the population is a lot smaller.
I've heard Mastermind say that. And
You just doxed me.
I-
Damn it. They all know my name. Say my
George.
name.
George.
Say my name.
George. But then why would they want to make us? Oh, because it goes back to capitalism. I just
Indeed.
feel like it's this circle because they made us big by feeding half the world instead of letting them not populate to pollution monster level.
Well,
And we're lucky. Why are we consuming 25%? Our fingers need to be pointed this way.
indeed. Well, to
You
answer
know?
that question,
I mean,
real quick is if we're sitting there feeding half of the world and we're making these mass productions of food that's getting shipped out globally, who's getting paid for that? Capitalism again. Somebody is making lots and lots of money sitting there shipping this food all over the world.
so it wasn't the third agricultural revolution that was the problem. It was the second, when it went from sustenance business to not away from sustenance,
Yes.
away from taking care of us and more about business.
Yes.
Industrial farming.
Yes.
Damn it. And consumption rates.
Well,
Why do we have to
and
eat?
shit, I should have. I'm just remembering about how the Dust Bowl was actually a plant, not a planned event, but yeah, a engineered event because of them wanting to put forth processed foods and bird's eye frozen foods. So they just made sure that everybody couldn't grow for a year. Capitalism sucks.
Yep.
I want to look at Dr. Nick. I actually had a family member that worked for IBM when it was part of RCA, when computers were first being developed. That's where computers originated, was the RCA, the records, right?
Yep.
And then they formed the big rooms of the computers, and we could talk about that with the nanotechnology episode, or you guys could with the
That's going to be so much fun.
That's got nothing to do with food.
Let's look at some of people's solutions. Nick was saying vertical farming and like aquaponic, meaning like aqua, like water farming,
hydroponic.
Not with how dirty the water is, according to Cookie.
Right.
Oh, don't start! Not the water thing yet, please.
No,
Man.
we're gonna get to that.
Doesn't
We'll
Bill
get to
Gates cause a lot of trouble in India? Oh, with the farmers. He was trying to
that.
help them.
He was doing vaccine. Oh, I can't say that word.
Why?
Vaccines are
YouTube.
good and effective. Please get your jabs.
Yes. Safe,
Some of
effective,
them
and
are.
sexually transmittable.
Some of them are.
No, all of them
COVID-19
are.
vaccines.
All the vaccines are safe and effective. Everyone should trust them.
Okay, here, Earl has something to say about capitalism. Ironically, capitalism is not a game of opulence, but efficiency. We are all becoming ants for a few queens. Yes, they're keeping us busy, right? Technology empowers the queens who breeds the ant.
Well, and that's the thing is you everybody loves to think they're in a democracy, but the democracy is the antithesis of capitalism. It's not like everybody gets a vote on what's going to happen at Monsanto. No, there's one monarch.
And how the fuck are you going to vote that out, man?
Yeah.
How do you vote that out?
Well, that's the thing.
But that's our
it's got
whole
to be
structure is built
citizens.
on
It's
that.
got to be Citizens United. That's got to be the first step.
Well, no, like when you have to pass a law, right? You need more than just the government. You need private industry to help. I mean, that's who you're.
Yeah, but you
putting
don't need
it
to be
out to.
captured by private industry. You can look to them for expertise,
Yeah.
which
I don't know.
we won't get into your.
As a psychopath, I believe that trying to believe and have faith in private industry to do what's good for the people instead of what's good for their profits is a little too optimistic. In my book, that is.
Oh, and I agree, Cookie. That was a law. I think Bush made a law that was called the Common Sense Initiative
Oh,
for
fucking
the
Bush.
for the environmental, for the EPA. I wanted to talk about Smith here. Says using African countries as test subjects for their scientific experiments,
Indeed.
but also prisons like ammonium perchlorate, which is a rocket fuel oxidizer. In the 70s, they were using it on predominantly or black men. It would kill your thyroid, and they use it for NASA fuel. So, yeah, I don't know much about what they did in regards to like farming. I'm not sure, or like agriculture, how they were testing stuff. Ooh, That's a good one.
Recycle your balls.
Making sure to recycle. Oh, to grow Nick's hydroponic farms. Well, it makes sense because the globe is going to float, right? We're going to have global warming. It's going to melt everything. Why couldn't we just grow everything like water worlds? You grow everything on.
That's not good.
in the
There's not that
water.
much water, honey.
I'm just
There's not
kidding.
that
I
much
was
water.
going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry.
Fish water.
The queens get all the opulence.
All right. So do you have anything else on the dangers of food? We're an hour in. Are we good?
Yeah, we gotta chop this off real soon. We're not gonna compete with fucking Jimmy Dore, man.
Yeah, no, I know. And actually, oh yeah, hands off, hands
Okay.
off, hands off.
I didn't. Do
So
any of the
next
star
week-
things.
We're gonna do this again, but next week somebody has to go in for oral surgery. I'm not saying who, but somebody else is gonna have to take care of everything while somebody else is having oral
Oh,
surgery.
right.
So what we were talking about with Bad Cookies is we're going to record the show ahead of time, and then we will air it at our regular. It'll be a live premiere, but it won't be us live because we're gonna have to pre-record it.
It'll be
But-
fake like everybody else. It'll be fake like everybody else.
Fake like everybody
We'll
else.
just say we're live.
Yeah,
This is live.
it's a live conspiracy that it's not live.
Yeah.
But what we're thinking is kicking the time slot back a few hours, so we aren't up. We aren't. Jimmy Dore isn't breathing all our oxygen. I guess that's a thing. I didn't realize he was still podcasting, but I guess he is. So, let's see. Right
Is-
here. Will the Tin Rabbit be a regular feature? Will the discussion be food and sustainability? No, it's going to be different every time. This one was the food
I
one.
could say some
I
of
mean,
the
it's
topics.
it's not like, yes, it's not like we'll never come back to that.
Right. We're going to do
Yeah, what do we got in the hopper?
simulation theory
Simulation theory.
and intelligent design, like panspermia kind of stuff. Octopus murders, which you're going to have a guest on, Abby Dew. The moon landing was fake. Something about the moon, like being hollow. JFK, which is really sad because, yeah, I don't know if it. And then I had one that I wanted to participate in, which was Nevada test site and like Area 51 and American Pacific Corp.
Yeah.
And then also de-evolution through external chemicals, because we were talking about ingesting chemicals and what they do to us. But what about external chemicals that like are in our land, air, and water, and what it's doing to us? So like even addressing like the being lead-free pipes and stuff like that, and PCBs and de-evolution through industrial chemicals. And then
Well-
talking about, oh, go ahead.
Well, AOC's got that covered, one sunscreen at a time. We'll be fine. Never
I
mind.
don't
Forget
know
about it.
that
Carry on.
campaign. Is it zinc?
Yes. No, she doesn't. She was spouting South Korean sunscreen. She's not a newsie.
Okay.
Okay.
We were gonna. Ooh, this one's exciting too. The Denver International Airport is the Illuminati's headquarters.
Oh yeah.
And then Roman says underground shit. Elon Musk.
Oh yeah.
I
yeah.
don't know that.
That
yeah.
no, his boring company. I want to get into, how he's not necessary. He's got Tesla and Twitter is just
Oh,
kind of the
How sweet, Sean.
smoke screen for his
Yeah, that's
boring
kind of the
company.
vein. Yeah.
Wi-Fi's watch your ass. 10 rabbits coming. Right?
Dude, if we ever got as big as
great.
Wi-Files,
Oh,
that'd be sick.
Yeah, right.
And even if we don't,
we'd have
it's
to get a little
fun.
more production value at that point. We'll have to, we might even have to get a second camera.
I might have to get one.
Someone named Golden Oh,
Yeah, get the
regarding
first
your
one.
your time frame. Someone was maybe talking about
What's that?
DD and Sabby.
Click it.
That
There's
takes
still DD and-
fairly a large.
Portion of groupies. Yeah, well,
Okay.
Wednesday's Wednesday. Yeah, it
Well,
is.
Sabby isn't on Wednesdays, is she?
Yeah,
The only one we'd have to
I-
worry about is DD.
Yeah,
But again, I'm
And-
not trying to
and-
compete with them, man.
yeah, I'm not
That's
either.
a good one. I'll write that down,
And,
Jacqueline.
and if there's
JFK, Marilyn
DD
Monroe,
fans that are
Dorothy
that
Kill.
up, then they can just catch the replay later.
Oh.
It's only an hour. They can play it in 30 minutes if they double speed it. I talk kind of slow anyway.
Let's see. Inside trading happening constantly, like in Tulsa. Oh, you could talk about inside trading.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
man, instead of a fish, you need a cat and a bunny.
Oh, to Golden Monarch, man, don't worry. Fucking crypto is on my list, man. And you're gonna, you're gonna help out a lot on that one.
Miguel clarified that savvy.
We might even have you write the pre-log for that. You can email us a prologue. We'll read that live on air.
This is a big one.
Feared, bedeviled, and vilified, also venerated. Adored and embraced, Saturn and his shadowy powers have strongly influenced the spiritual and magical life of cultures and individuals for millennia.
There's a big
I could barely say that, but I could have said it better myself.
What is it?
There's a huge conspiracy theory about the black cube, and it involves Saturn, and it's a real deep rabbit hole. So we could definitely do that one too.
That's why all those Talmudic priests have that big square on their forehead.
Ooh, what?
Yes, the Talmudic rabbis.
Oh, I don't know.
Have the big.
But one that I could participate in, and Cookie might like too, is nanotechnology and vaccines. Because
that's the one that'll get us canceled off of YouTube.
Advocate.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Nick's all for the black cube. I would have to educate myself about that because I have no idea what that is.
All right.
All right.
So,
that's it, boys.
I think that we took care of all the business there. We've got some music out the door, and for some reason I can't hear any audio, so I'm going to have to kind of... Where'd it go?
Someone was asking me a question.
Oh, what was the question?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
What's the question?
I don't know. It says Rooted Gypsy. It's a local farming company. It's a co-op between a mother and a daughter. It's a family business, and they get food from all the local farmers and deliver it right to your house like DoorDash. And they make their own soaps and stuff. It's a local thing.
Kind of cool.
You know, kind of it matched the back of the screen, and
so
Cookie liked it.
I thought it was cool. Oh, real quick. To everyone in the chat and everyone who tuned in, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully we're entertaining enough for you. Please tune in next week if you want. We'll be here regardless. Jumping down the rabbit hole.
Let's see if I can play this music. That was an awesome out. I'm sorry I stepped all over that, Cookies. That would have been beautiful. But I'm just not quite there yet.
Sorry, man.
Here we go.
Timing.
I know. All right. Hold on. Here, let's see if we can do this.
Let him say it again.
And let me,
I don't remember what the hell I said.
Oh, it was genuine.
Let's see. Present.
The science of not
share
trying.
screen.
It was good.
All right. Let's see if we can do this.
What are we listening to?
Jesse Jet Skin Suits.
A very talented
Bye,
man.
guys. Thanks for watching.
Miles away from that lady's ledge, our senator waking safe and fat. Ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as he count the dead. Gorillas in the mist, skin suits in the Senate. Water in the streets, chest deep like it's Venice. Water out a tap in Jackson comes blacker than resin. Black incidentally like most of its residents, which is why it isn't on your television, isn't on the lips of your president. Well, I'm admitting that as evidence. I've been fleshing out a case to be made for the testament. I don't know what our collateral count is, but doubt it is less than the estimate. You just show us a hospital, watch as we Dresden it. Our propaganda gets taken to heart, and you're scarfing it, like it or not. If you think that you aren't, I would urge you to pick that apart, cause you're drinking it, smoking it, driving it, dressed in it. We pay for it, pray to it, bathe in it, fill up the basin, and babies are blessed in it. Ask no questions, bask in the pestilence. See, honey, when the plague goes live, you'd be wise to invest in it. See, honey, when the plague goes live, just between you and I, that's an industry sign that they're all done testing it. And come 2025, they will all be confessing it. And then a few small fry fall guys all fly from the precipice, who were doomed to be wasted like shell corporations, dissolving to vapor, then gone with the resonance, gone with the sense and the sentiments, gone with the dust of the remnants, gone with the ghosts of the regiment, gone like those families in Gaza whose bodies and homes are demolished when Israel sets up a settlement. Gone like your chance at a settlement. Gone like the hope of apologies out of those funding our deadliest research and backroom development. Gone like your shot at a measly I'm sorry from the mouths of our own bioterrorists. God, you cannot imagine the face of the monster. You can't even fathom the scale of its carapace. It's under your feet, yet you're barely aware of it. You see it's quietly judging the scope of your suffering, sizing you up like a therapist. Then it rides in your guts like a parasite, growing in size and excreting a culture that's purely embarrassment. Equal parts Manson and Maryland, equal parts something we push into madness and something we'll gladly exploit and objectify 50 years after it perishes. Carefully crafted and planned and arranged like a monarchy's marriages. Fucking cousins or otherwise, scourge of the colonized, staged and displayed for the sake of retaining those imperial barracks. And all to expedite a special type of anglicized dysplasia. The kind where half the world is waking up to learn they're being raided, raped, and robbed of all their heritage by Charles and his caravan of 30 servants' carriages. The kind where each in the procession is worth infinitely less, till eventually they're paid in sums of crown-approved disparagement and bonuses of shame, till they're finally told to thank the highest-ranking inbred pig named king of every garrison. One who rose into his power all immaculate, like Harris did. Well, now that garishness is melting down like paraffin that hardens in a shell and shelters terrified and threatened royal terrapin. Those that rule with zero question, although nobody elected it. Democracy was here till we dissected it. Democracy was here until the exhibition exodus. And the loss of that democracy is just a threat for those who've yet to recognize the scent of bait or know the taste of desiccants. Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. Miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe and fed. The aide got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. Miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe and fed. The aide got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, they don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red, as they give me a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe and fed. Ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping up out of red, as they give me a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe and fed. And ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, they don't give a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping up out of red, as they give me a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe and fed. And ain't got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead.